Found you.
Me, oh me, oh my.
The same studio that left Soul Eater unfinished for over 15 years delivered a faithful anime for its spiritual successor in 3. Same aesthetic DNA, completely different economics. The woman who got what her hero never did was a first-time mangaka who'd been Soul Eater's biggest fan since junior high, worked in its creator's studio as an assistant, and launched her debut the same week his final series ended. By the end of this video, you'll understand how that happened, and why the industry made it possible for the student but not the master. Her name is Kei Urana, and before she was known as the creator of Gachiakuta'S, before she was anyone in this industry, she was just a kid who fell in love with a manga that didn't look like anything else on the shelf. Atsushi Ohkubo created Soul Eater in 2004, and it was immediately its own thing. Gothic, stylish, Tim Burton by way of Tokyo, with character designs that blended high fashion and horror like nobody else in Shonen. Over 9 years and 25 volumes, it moved more than 20 million copies and carved out a lane no one else could occupy. Urana was one of the fans who never moved on. Soul Eater pulled her toward dark manga, away from the lighter genre she'd started in, and it became the reason she wanted to draw at all. Most channels will tell you Soul Eater was just another mid-2000s shonen that aged out of relevance. I think that undersells it. 20 years later, people are still waiting for it to get what it deserves, and what it deserved is exactly what it never got.
This is the day you remember that you have met Death himself.
But you're not.
Liz, I wanna be cool!
Litter is fun!
The manga that made Urana want to draw was also the manga the industry couldn't figure out how to honor. Soul Eater built a throne, a specific intersection of dark aesthetics, high fashion character design, and kinetic action that nobody else in manga occupied, and the industry left it empty for 15 years. The question was never whether anyone cared about Soul Eater, the question was whether anyone could afford to. Studio Bones adapted it into a 51-episode anime in 2008, and for 37 episodes it was faithful, until they caught up to the manga, which forced them to write their own ending years before Ohkubo finished the source material in 2013. Here's the part most people skip over. Soul Eater is a Square Enix property. Bones would need Square Enix's green light, a new production committee willing to fund the remake of a completed manga, and a business case strong enough to justify it. In 2014, they tried with Soul Eater Not, a 12-episode spin-off that underperformed, and that data became a poison, because every pitch meeting for a Soul Eater remake has that number sitting on the table. The throne was real, but the economics made it uninhabitable, and the man who built it was running out of road. While Soul Eater's throne sat empty, Urana was quietly building a path toward the man who'd made her want to draw. By 2015, Ohkubo had moved on from Square Enix to Kodansha, launching Fire Force and Weekly Shonen magazine. That's when Urana got the opportunity that changed everything, a position as his assistant. She worked in Ohkubo's studio, watched him draw every week, and learned how the throne was built from the inside. And for over 6 years of serialization, Fire Force produced 304 chapters across 34 volumes, moved 20 million copies, and confirmed in the final arc that it was a direct prequel to Soul Eater. By the time it wrapped, Ohkubo was hinting at retirement from the toll of nearly 20 years of continuous manga production. Urana, on the other hand, published a one-shot called No Gase in 2018, then Shikiro in 2019, which won first prize in Weekly Shonen Magazine's 103rd Newcomer Manga Award. And on February 16, 2022, Gachiakuta'S Chapter 1 was published in Weekly Shonen Magazine, 6 days before Fire Force published its final chapter. Urana wrote that she was thrilled to share the moment with the man whose work she'd admired since junior high school. Ohkubo called her his legitimate successor who has already surpassed me, and his farewell read, "I'll hand over the baton to Urana-chan. Thank you very much, goodbye." And that baton carried more than his blessing. By publishing Fire Force with Kodansha, Ohkubo had spent 6 years building the publisher relationship, the magazine slot, and the production infrastructure his student would later step into. And that infrastructure came with economics Soul Eater never had access to. In the streaming era, new IP commands premium. Exclusive simulcast deals for top-tier anime run into the hundreds of thousands of dollars per season. A new series means a clean production committee, fresh streaming rights, fresh merchandise pipeline, and an active manga driving readers to the anime and back. A remake of a completed 2004 manga offers none of that. No weekly chapters generating buzz, no new volumes to cross-promote, and no discovery premium for platforms paying for content their subscribers haven't seen. And the person best positioned to exploit that new IP premium was the same girl who'd spent years in his studio learning how to build it. Gachiakuta'S hit the page with a premise that felt like Urana had been building it her entire life. Rudo, a kid from the slums of a floating city called the Sphere, gets framed for his foster father's murder and thrown into the pit, a garbage abyss below the world everyone else lives in. Down there, he discovers that discarded objects carry souls, and he learns to wield them as weapons called jinki. The concept came from something personal. Urana once broke a pen she loved as a child, and she described the feeling as the pen pleading with me. That loss became the power system's foundation. She also brought graffiti designer Hideyoshi Ando in to handle the street art aesthetic, the calligraphy, and the tattoo work that gives Gachiakuta'S its raw, layered visual identity. Urana has called the fusion of manga and graffiti something new. Nothing like this had been done before. It was the kind of creative gamble that either defines a debut or buries it. Out of the gate, it generated attention. Ohkubo's endorsement carried weight. Fans recognized the Soul Eater DNA immediately, and the spiritual successor label stuck them day one. That DNA wasn't a coincidence either. The dark aesthetics and singular character design Ohkubo pioneered in Soul Eater lived in Gachiakuta'S because the person drawing it had learned those techniques standing beside him. But the sales didn't match the noise. After Volume 5, circulation started to stall, and by mid-2025, the picture was underwhelming. Volume 15 ranked 315th on weekly charts, the series couldn't crack Oricon's top 10, and Gachiakuta'S sat at an estimated 1.5 million copies. Soul Eater moved 20 million. Fire Force moved 20 million. 1.5 million isn't a failure, but the gap made the spiritual successor framing impossible to ignore. The discourse shifted. Gachiakuta'S is a derivative, living in Soul Eater's shadow. The anointed successor label that was supposed to be a launchpad became something she had to carry into every chapter. Because when the creator of Soul Eater tells the world you've surpassed him and the sales charts disagree, you're wearing a crown the market hasn't confirmed. That's a pressure most mangaka never face. Most don't debut with their hero's blessing ringing in every review and every comparison. But one moment cut through all of it. September 2024. Someone on X replies to her post about a Soul Eater art exhibition. Soul Eater mid. Your manga mid. Urana fires back. Soul Eater God. You go to work. She defended Ohkubo's legacy before her own. That's not a marketing play. That's a fan who knows exactly where she came from. And then the industry finally did for the student what the economics never allowed it to do for the master.
Sounds like you having a real fun trip, my guy.
Bones came back. The same studio that produced Soul Eater's incomplete adaptation over 15 years earlier announced the Gachiakuta'S anime. And this time, the production committee did exactly what the system is designed to do for new IPs. 24 episodes across 2 full cores, Hiroshi Seko writing the scripts and Crunchyroll streaming it globally. The full weight of the machinery for a first-time mangaka's ongoing series. The anime aired from July to December 2025, and it delivered. At the 2026 Crunchyroll Anime Awards, Gachiakuta'S won 3 from 16 nominations: Best New Series, Best Character Design, and Best Background Art. A debut series sweeping craft categories over studios with decades of pedigree. Character design and background art, that's Ohkubo's lane. The industry never gave him that recognition, but it was given to the person who learned it from him. Then came May 2026, the 50th Kodansha Manga Award, Shonen category, an award Soul Eater never received. Season 2 greenlit, an RPG in development, a stage play in Tokyo and Kyoto, the manga on the New York Times bestseller list. This is the part that gets me. The industry assembled a production committee, secured a streaming deal, and delivered a Faithful Bones anime in 3 years for her first series. It has been over 15 years since Soul Eater's anime diverged, and Ohkubo still hasn't gotten one. They didn't suddenly start caring, they found the profit margin. The mechanics that made Gachiakuta commercially viable, new IP, clean rights, active manga, streaming premium, are the same mechanics that kept Soul Eater locked out. That's what the system does. It rewards new IP over legacy IP, and the recognition arrived through the person who loved the legacy most. Kei Urana didn't inherit Atsushi Ohkubo's throne. She earned it the only way that counts, by being the fan who understood what Soul Eater deserved, and then building the work that put her on it. The Kodansha Award Soul Eater never won, the Faithful Bones anime it never got, the Crunchyroll sweep that proved the craft was undeniable. All of it arrived for the student, not the master. The industry left that throne empty for 15 years. The demand was always there. The money never was, and it took a fan and a fresh IP deal to fill it. But if a fan had to build a whole new franchise just to earn the recognition her hero's work deserved, what does that tell you about the industry she built it in?